Thank you for tuning in to Embrace Life, where you are inspired to overcome your fears, enjoy life to the fullest, and to find your purpose. This program is paid for and sponsored by Embrace Life Coaching Business and various sponsors.
Sure, I am Eldress Onica Royal. Sometimes I'm known as Lady O. Good evening to every one of you guys, both YouTube and Facebook.
Yes.
I'm so glad to be here.
And it's awesome to have you here. And today, y'all, we're going to be talking about the topic, show your scars.
Yes.
So would you like to expound a little bit about that?
Sure. Show me your scars. When I thought about the topic on tonight, I had to, which I do each and every time, place myself inside of the subject. Therefore, the subject is much, much easier to talk about and explain and explore. So show me your scars. I thought about years ago, it's been close to 20 years now, when I was in a very bad car accident, and most of you probably can't see it unless you kind of pan in really good and kind of see the contour of my face, but I had to get some reconstructive surgery done to my face, because of how bad the accident was. But what it did, it left me with a scar, and the scar kind of starts from here and goes all the way over here. And I remember having this stigma attached to me, because scars, sometimes they're unsightly or they're unseemly, and a lot of people associate that with terrible things happening to you because you now have a scar. But the thing that bothered me the most is because it was so visible and I could not hide this scar, and it really caused me some issues. But then, I thought about the story in the Bible. I do like to talk about the Bible. Thought about the story in the Bible where we were talking about Doubting Thomas. We call him Doubting Thomas in the New Testament. And what happened was, this is the setting that after Jesus was resurrected, or he hadn't been resurrected yet, but after he had died and gone and been buried in the grave, and they came back to the tomb and didn't find him, it was a couple of days later that he decided to show himself to the group of disciples that followed him. And so when they were all assembled in that house, he showed them proof that he was who he was, and they remembered at that moment when he shared his experience that, you did tell us that these things were going to happen. But there particularly was not one present when the rest of the disciples were there, and that was the disciple Thomas. And so a couple of days later, as Jesus is not recognizable per se, because he's not the same individual physically as he was when Thomas remembered him, but he walked past Thomas on a path and was speaking kindly to him and things like that. And Thomas was intrigued by this man's encounter, their conversation together. And what I remember most about the story is Jesus was explaining to Thomas, I remember telling you when we were with the disciples that all of these things were going to happen. And now you've come to the place where you are doubting me. So that's why we call him Doubting Thomas, and we kind of give Doubting Thomas a bad rap, but some of us need to place ourselves, because we've all been in that place where we have doubted either that God was going to come through, or that God was going to do what he said he was going to do, or that God was God, period. We have all had that place of being a Doubting Thomas ourselves. But I admire Doubting Thomas simply because when he encountered Jesus, and Jesus was explaining to him who he was and what he had gone through, Thomas said, I want to believe you. I really do. I really want to believe you. But one thing I'm going to ask you is to show me your scars. And so Thomas had the courage to ask Jesus, listen, I know who you are. I walked with you I've seen you heal. I've seen you deliver. I've seen you do all of these things. You turn water into wine. You multiplied the fish and the 5 loaves of bread. You've done all of these wonderful things. But can I ask you this one thing? Can you show me your scars?
Wow.
And Jesus was not intimidated by Thomas's question of show me your scars. And so Jesus begins to show Thomas the nail prints in his hands and the gash on his side. Mm-hmm. And Thomas even went a little bit further. He said, okay, yeah, I'm seeing all of this. I believe all of this, but can I just place my hand in your side? Yes. Can you show me your scars? And so this is where a lot of us are today. We're afraid to be in a vulnerable place when it comes to even our different exchanges, whether it's a friendship or whether it's a family member or whether it's a co-worker at work or just in our sister circle, our dude circle, whatever circle you're in. We do have those moments of vulnerability, but I've found that there's a lot of strength when you can show your scars. There's a lot of strength in that. I found strength in telling my story because what I learned about my own scar was that it proved to someone else that there's a lesson and there's a story behind this physical thing. And sometimes our scars can be emotional. Sometimes our scars can be, spiritual. Sometimes our scars can be many different things. But one of mine, because I have many, one of mine that was very noticeable it seemed to be physical. And so I remember having to retell the same story over and over because people just wanted to know, what happened. And so as I began to tell the story over and over and over, I gained strength from the story. I had to realize that not only did this happen to me, but it happened for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what I mean by that is that even before, the accident even happened, I had some major self-esteem issues. Like many of us, we grow up and childhood can be, a very trying time in our lives. You know what I'm saying? Because kids can be real evil and real mean, and real messy and stuff. So I learned that, I didn't have the best self-esteem even before this happened. But after this happened, it gave me the strength to find out who I was internally and who I was in God. And those two things always overrode whatever people seem to see on the outside, because God had built me up to such a statue that I could walk with my head held high. It didn't matter if I had to retell and tell the story to whoever who asked. And some people say, well, you ain't got to tell them nothing. But no, I've gotten to the place, or I've grown to the place where I don't mind sharing my story. I don't mind you seeing my scars.
Wow.
And so that is the preface of the topic on tonight. Are you in a place where you can show people your scars? Are you willing to be vulnerable, just so God can get some glory out of your life? Because really that's what it's all about. Scars may be, big, small, or unseemly. They may be, things that we just try to hide and patch up, for a long time. They used to make this makeup where you could kind of conceal your scars. Yeah. And, we're living in a day and time, and, really a lot of concealing and stuff is really not helpful. What people really want to see is the genuineness that you exude, or who you are. They really want to know, your experiences. Can I trust you enough to tell you that I'm hurting? Can I trust you enough with this big secret that I have? Can you show me your scars so that I can realize that not only am I going through something, but you've been through something too, and I'm not ashamed to show you my scars. And so, are you in a place on tonight where you can be vulnerable just a little bit and let someone else see your scars? Yeah, it might be a little scary at first, but I'm telling you, just like Doubting Thomas, he needed to do that. He needed to place his hand in Christ's side so that he can fully believe. It wasn't that he just didn't believe altogether, but he wanted to fully believe, and he wanted to fully trust that Christ was standing before him. And so I've just gotten to a place, and I just really thank God for the growth, that no matter what my experiences have been, I don't mind sharing anything with anybody. We can be a perfect stranger, and I'm sitting beside you at the bus stop, and I strike up a conversation, and in that conversation somewhere we're going to find some commonality. You're going to exchange some things with me, and I'm going to exchange some things with you, and that way we know that we are truly one in the spirit, because we all go through things.
Absolutely.
But we have to be vulnerable, and I always get tongue-tied with that word, vulnerable, to share our scars,
So I would say the question also is, are you ready for that question? When people get bold enough, like Thomas did, to ask, where did that scar come from? And what I thought was so profound is the fact that he said, show me your scars, and Jesus showed him his scars, and he said, let me touch it.
Yes.
So it's like almost like I see it, but I have to believe that these are like really, this is really you. These are really your scars.
Yeah.
Because there are people out there that's like imitations of different people, and sometimes you have to go there and say, let me touch it. Let me make sure you're you. Because think about the book, like Facebook. We have people duplicating people pages, hacking people pages. So when they're actually out there trying to be you, it takes people who really know who you are to say, that ain't that person.
Exactly.
That part.
Exactly. That part. Yes.
So
that part.
We have to watch out for them hackers.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to ask, is that really you? Could you give me a sign that that's you?
That that's you. That
wow.
That's you. Yes. And I love how you put that, because there are a lot of imposters, out here in the earth, and it's nothing wrong with asking for proof. You see, Jesus, he didn't get intimidated like, who are you to ask me? Who are you to ask me for me to show you something? But there's also a scripture in the Bible that says that he was talking to, it was a child that was going through, and the father was saying, I believe, but help my unbelief. So I really do want to solidify this thing. I really want to be solid in this thing. But just show me a little something. Just let me touch you. Let me feel you. Let me see, if you are real. So I love that point. I love that point.
Absolutely.
Yes.
When it comes to showing people your scars, and like you said, it does put you in a vulnerable place. And that's why I asked the question, like, even if that person come and ask us, are we even ready to answer that? Because some things we want to keep a secret, because we don't want, like, when people say, I don't want to tell my business, I don't want to put my business out there.
Right.
But what it is it's a testimony.
Right.
Because even though we think, oh, shoot, they're going to judge me, they're going to think of me a certain way, they are, because they're going to say, she is human, or he is human. So they actually did go through something, so where people actually think we got it all together.
Right.
And hear the backstory, they were like, oh, okay, so she can tell me something.
Yeah, exactly.
And we would like to, have people comfortable enough to come to us like Thomas went to Jesus.
That's exactly right.
Because see, what I love about that part, as you was explaining that, he wasn't afraid, he ain't had to go, Your Majesty, could I, he ain't had to do all that issues.
Right.
He just went strictly to him. He been around him enough, he was comfortable enough with him.
That's right.
And say, okay, Jesus, I need to know.
That's right.
That's you.
Exactly.
So,
yes. Very good. Very good. And something else too, as you were speaking, when you say that the scar really does tell a story, and it signifies that we've not only been through something, but we've overcome that thing.
Right. Right.
We've overcome that thing. Because there's a difference between a wound and a scar. A wound means something is still open, it's still hurt to touch, and to still kind of tender and sensitive. But a scar has healed over. It's just evidence that something has happened, but it's also evidence that it's something that has already been overcome. And so I appreciate every scar, every scar that's visible and invisible. I thank God for every scar, because that opens me to be more open and acceptable of other people. You know, we all have a story. We all have things. We all have scars. But the sad reality is there's some spouses that haven't shown their scars to each other. There's some family members, some fathers haven't shown their scars to their sons, and so the young men are out here, just wilding out and doing all types of things because some fathers haven't sat down and shared any scars, haven't showed them the things that they've been through and that they've lived through and that they've overcome to try to make their sons better men. And same with moms and daughters, same things. There's a lot that I wish I had shared with my daughters, as they were coming up. But we getting it in now, you know what I'm saying? Now that the scar, the wound has healed, and all of those things are in the past, we can now have open conversation about anything. And that's why I thank God that I'm not ashamed of any scar, whether it be physically, emotionally, spiritually, or any of those things. I just feel like that is the connector sometimes to embracing God's people everywhere.
And I would say to everybody, leave the scabs alone. Because when you leave the scabs alone, you are allowing yourself to heal.
Yes.
Because you have people keep picking at that scab right steady because they want to stay in that misery instead of allowing that wound to heal.
Yes.
Because somebody gonna say, okay, where that come from? How you get that scar? And you want to be able to tell the story of how that's how that scar happened.
Yeah.
So I just say leave the scab alone. Because even though they ask you about it, it don't mean that you relive in the past. It just mean that they just want to know how you overcame whatever it was exactly that you went through.
Yes.
That's all that is.
Exactly. And there's a difference in how you tell your story. You can tell your story from a place of a victim, or you can tell your story from a place of victory. And so my mindset is to tell the story from a place of victory. Although I've gone through those things, that thing, whatever it was, didn't take me out. That I've outlived the thing. I have the scar to prove it. And so now that I have the scar, the visual thing that someone else can see, that opens up conversation for us to have about some other things, some other commonalities, some other life's issues and life's experiences. That opens the door for all of that. And so I just thank God for every scar, and tell your story from a place of victory. If you're not able to tell your story from a place of victory yet, continue to pray about that thing so that God can give you the courage and the strength to tell it from a place of victory, because whether you realize it or not, you've overcome that thing. That thing no longer has you. It has no ground to stand in your way. It has no right to build a wall around you. It has no right for you to live inside of a box, because the reality is there's no box. We don't live in a box. Well, you shouldn't live in a box. Some people do, but when you come to know who you are and the liberty and all the freedom that is attached to that, you understand that there is no box and that you can truly live free.
Absolutely. And when I first wrote my book, Don't Break Down, Break Through, I remember putting in there, be a veteran of your struggles.
Yes.
Because, I was in the military.
Okay.
And so being in the military, we done had scars everywhere, scrapes, bruises, everything, because we had to train for battle. So in our training, we had to either do it indoors or we had to do it outdoors. And, outdoors has twigs and some everything that scratches us up, dirt that can get in our eye, so... these are different things that we had to go through, but through any battle, we had to become that veteran of, our struggles, because that's what those scars are. Yes. When we start explaining our story, they're like, you know what? Shoot, They went through a whole lot of stuff, and she's still standing, she's still here.
Exactly.
She didn't give up.
Exactly.
It's the giving up part. That didn't happen. So once you see people and stuff with these scars and stuff, don't be afraid to ask. I used to be afraid to ask, where you get that scar from, or where that come from, because I didn't want that person to feel self-conscious of what was going on with them.
Right.
And so I said, well, shoot, I'm gonna wait, because they're gonna eventually talk about it. But I have one from and actually I call it my Damascus Road. March 3rd, 2003.
Wow.
333.
Okay.
So
amen.
On that day, I actually experienced, I had a woman car accident.
Wow.
And I had to get a chest tube. But here's the thing, I laid on the table for 4 hours because the hospital was so full.
Wow.
I had to be in the hallway because they ain't had no rooms.
Wow.
So I was in the hallway for like 4 hours, saying that I really have to go to the bathroom, but it felt like an ocean in my chest. So nobody understood what I was saying until they said, you need anything? I said, well, I need to go to the bathroom real quick. But I said, it feels funny in my chest and I don't want to go. So they said, well, while you out here, we're going to go ahead and do this MRI. And so they ran it. And when they did, about 2 seconds, everybody rushing out the room. This is trauma.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, trauma? Like, what are they talking about? And once I got there, they said, ma'am, I'm sorry, but we don't have time to numb you. We had to give you a chest tube.
Wow.
So they had to cut. I'm like awake. I didn't get numb.
Wow.
Nothing. Because they had to immediately do it. Because my chest was filling up with blood.
Wow.
So I'm like, had I got up to go to the bathroom, it would have punctured my other lung. Because my sternum was cracked to a point where you can hear it, crack, make that crazy sound. So it won't nothing but the grace of God.
Yeah.
But I have that scar. So occasionally if I go somewhere, if I'm, changing my clothes or something, they be like, what's that? And this right here came from a chest tube that I was not numb for. I wasn't ready for it.
Right.
It just happened.
Right.
So we just have to get ready for stuff that we're not even ready for.
That's right.
Scars we're not even ready for.
Yes indeed. Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing.
But I survived it.
You did.
And I think I cracked jokes the whole time they were doing it.
Wow.
I cracked jokes, but the doctor was saying at the time that my body was so fatigued until my body didn't feel no pain. So I was in trauma, but I didn't feel it. Praise Jesus. But I didn't feel nothing.
I can relate. Yes.
So I was like, wow.
Yes.
So,
I can definitely relate. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when we start talking about scars.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And sometimes like, you ready for my scar story? I can tell you my scar story.
Yeah. I can tell you which one you want to know. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
But we just encourage you guys to not be afraid to share your scar stories.
Yes.
Because it's gonna help somebody. Because either they about to go through it, already going through it, or already been through it. And those are the people what we call the emotional hoarders that don't want to talk about it. They keep them from depression. They be like, you know what? I ain't the only one that been through this.
That's right.
So we have to just encourage each other to talk about things like that, and not be afraid to express how we felt at the time, because we gonna say, oh girl, I was happy to get that chest tube. No, I was scared to death.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So we just gotta learn how to be real with one another when it comes to these scars.
Yeah, be transparent.
Right. So no, it's not telling your business. It's not. It's actually helping somebody.
It is. It is. And I have learned that people really appreciate transparency, because your delivery is genuine when you can be transparent, when you can lay down and you don't have no qualms about what you share. You're going to share it in a real and profound way. People really appreciate that and can connect with you because of that, and so when I tell any story, it's not a story per se, but when I tell my testimony or tell different other things, I do it with the spirit of transparency, because I really do want somebody to, although they can't see my physical heart, I want them to sense my heart, that I'm not going to harm you. I'm going to do everything I can to help you. And so I pray that once, you know, that delivery is done, that's how they leave feeling that they've been heard, and that they've been helped, and they can go on a little further. Amen.
And to bring it out even more, you may see the outside scars, but you don't always see the inside scars. Okay? And the perfect example for that is if we have young ladies, you know, if we have daughters, and we see that their relationship is toxic, and we try to tell them about it and stuff, we're coming from a place of scars. Right. We're coming from a place of hurt.
That's right.
So because we know and we see it already, we're trying to warn them. And of course, they ain't gonna listen to us. We're mama. We don't know what we're talking about. We ain't never been teenagers.
Right.
But at the end of the day, whenever we talk to, and that's something to think about, whenever we talk to any of our kids about anything that we see as a danger, it's because it's an inside scar that's dwelling in us, that has been healed, that we're okay to talk about.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
So whether they take it in or not, we are expressing that is a scar. For the ones who don't understand that, that's the inside scar.
Exactly. And the reason we tell them is because we don't necessarily want them to go through the process of getting the scar and then having to heal the wound and allowing it to become a scar. We're trying to avoid all of that. But, yes. you know, we don't know nothing, you know.
We try. You know.
Born yesterday. Don't know nothing, but you know, that's when you really have to step back and choose to practice tough love.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We have to.
And pray for them as they are experiencing things that, you know, as they're going through. Continue to pray for their covering, because you know the world is a lot different from when we were, you know, coming up.
Yeah.
And you know, it's gotten a lot more evil. There's a lot of the devices and things out there that entice, and a lot of other influences. But I know Mother's Day just passed, and we celebrated our mothers. But you know, we really need to sometimes think about all the wisdom our mothers poured, or our mother figures poured into us. You know, that has helped us to come to this place right here. I got a lot of stories, you know, but I just appreciate it, you know, because I know I was a little hard-headed, you know, but I thank God for those women that shared their heart with me, that shared their scars with me, to tell me, you know, you might not want to go that way. Or you might want to leave Joker alone, or you might, you know, I appreciate those things. I might didn't listen sometimes, but I sure wish I had listened, you know. But
well, a lot of times I didn't listen, but you know.
Yeah, wish I had listened. But to God be the glory, you know. We overcame, and here we are as women of strength, and willing to tell our stories to help somebody else.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I'm so glad that you had a chance to, you know, stop by and share with us about, you know, show me your scars, because I'm like, that is a good topic, but, you know, awesome topic. But I am glad that you decided to stop
I'm
by.
very glad to be here.
Share your time. And I hope you come back another time.
Yes, I'd love to come back.
Yes. And
I love Gina, y'all. I love Gina. She's
I love
like
her
my
too.
mentor. Like, for real, I look up to her. She's so encouraging. Just knocking it out in all areas, all avenues. So I'm just like, okay, girl.
Don't get it twisted. She is too. She is too, y'all.
Oh, God.
But would you like to tell people, you know, how they can find you? Because, you know, she also is a radio show, well, I call it radio personality. So you like to tell them about your show and stuff like that, and how to reach you?
Well, here's how you can reach me. The radio show, actually, I've exited the radio show since the beginning of the year, because God has called me into another area. But I do look forward to getting back into something similar. like the radio show. But how you can get in contact with me is Facebook. I'm up there every now and then. Onica Royal, ONICA ROYAL. Also on Instagram by the same name. Reach out.
Hey you guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Embrace Life. I am your host, your motivational strategist, Regina Harrell. And until next time, always remember, don't be the product of your environment, be the change. And I'm out.